So for the last 3 years, I've literally poured every single candle.
We've got another candle brand, which is fantastic. It is created by a lady called Ricki.
Okay.
So if I was like going back into it, the first thing I would do is like identify a customer and a problem and then build a product around that. It changed my life. It's probably the only subscription apart from Klaviyo and Shopify that I would actually recommend every product business get.
There are probably a lot of creators listening to this.
Hello.
If they wanted to get the attention of you or someone like you to work with them, how would you recommend they do that?
Don't DM me.
All right. Ricki.
What up?
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing, Jade?
Oh my God, I'm so good. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, excited
Fun
to be here.
fact, for anyone listening, myself and Ricki actually went to the same secondary school. And I'm pretty sure we've not seen each other since then.
No, not since 16 years old.
Yeah, which was only a couple years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it wasn't that long. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No worries.
I'm so excited to speak with you. You have done some incredible things since we last spoke, and I can't wait to just dive into it. So let's get started. Why don't you tell me about Selfmade Candle, which is your business? Tell me about it. Tell me about how it came about.
Okay, so obviously I'm Ricki. I'm the founder behind Selfmade Candle. We're a sustainable home fragrance brand. We're the home of the glow, then grow candles. So I'm big on sustainability, big on aromatherapy, and our products are all designed to be used more than once. So you get a natural vegan candle, and then you get to plant the candle label in the same jar once it's done. Great product, no waste.
Love it.
Yeah, so I started that, this business in 2020 during the pandemic. Do you remember when everyone was making banana breads?
Yes, myself included, yes.
I was making candles.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's literally how it started.
You were like next level. You're like, banana bread's easy.
Yeah, I was like, banana breads, that's like 2019. Like, elite people be making candles now. And then it turned out they were really good.
Love it.
So here
Love
we
it.
are, 3 years later, I'm still making the candles.
Incredible.
And now I buy my banana breads.
Oh my gosh, that is the level that we're all aspiring to when we start buying our banana bread. I'm not there yet, one day. So question, when you first got started, you were literally hand pouring your candles. Are you still doing that now?
Yes, yeah. So this is actually the first year where we're moving to manufacturing.
Okay.
So for the last 3 years, I've literally poured every single candle. So whether you're the first 3 people who bought from me to now the next 3,000, all of the candles that have been poured by me, whether it be my kitchen or the studio, anything, it's all been by me.
That is so incredible. I actually mentioned to you just before we started recording that I have tried my own product-based business before. I actually had a candle brand.
Did you?
I
You
did.
have a good candle brand.
I had a candle brand.
Okay.
It was nothing like yours,
What?
hence why it doesn't exist anymore.
Tell me about it.
Look.
Oh gosh, this seems like, is this trauma? Do we need to TW here?
A little bit. I was young. I was
Okay.
like early 20s.
Okay.
And I took out a business loan of about £5,000.
Okay.
And I used almost all of it on a trade show, which could have worked. But bear in mind, my background is marketing.
Yeah.
So why didn't I spend the money on marketing? Because that's what I knew. Instead, I went down a route that I had no idea about. And I got some orders. It was mostly like wholesale.
Yeah.
But I couldn't keep up with it. And one of the hardest parts was the fact that I was hand pouring the candles.
It's a lot.
I'm so impressed, but also very confused as to how you've managed to do it yourself.
It's a lot. There was a period of time, maybe a year and a half ago, that I was literally sleeping 3 to 4 hours a day. I'd wake up and pour candles, nap, and then come back and pour candles.
God.
It was a pretty big order that I literally made myself in my kitchen. There was literally a point where my windowsills were just stacked with candles.
My
console table, candles, everything, candles, under the bed, candles. But yeah, I get what you mean. It can be really difficult to start a candle business. I'm a huge believer in trying to use as little money as possible. That's how I started my business.
Okay.
I think I still have the first spreadsheet I used, and I think it was £500. That's what I used to start my one
Gosh, you
business.
just jumped ahead. That was one of the questions I
Oh,
really
was
wanted
it?
to ask you. Well,
sus.
do you know what? There's a lot of creators, budding entrepreneurs, they want to start a business.
Yes.
And one of the biggest barriers is money and
Capital,
finances.
yeah.
And it's so difficult. And I've just said that I made that big mistake getting £5,000 out.
Loads of people do. I don't know. Okay, I'm sidetracking, but I don't know if you've seen that episode of Real Housewives of Potomac. How do you say it? Potomac?
I've never even heard of that
Oh
one.
my gosh. Let's say Potomac.
Okay.
There's a woman on it called Wendy, Dr.
Yeah.
Wendy. She's like a doctor by background, not medical, but PhD. She's also a pundit. She's got like loads of side hustles going. And she tried to start her own candle brand. And she's like a big name in TV. And even she couldn't get it off the ground. Yeah. As one of the businesses that people think is so easy to get up and running, you really need to like know your audience and like know your product and know the gap in the market. Yeah. Otherwise you're like Wendy was talking about wasting hundreds, if not thousands of pounds.
Oh, well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. Also because which bank would be approving a loan of £100,000 to me? 22-year-old me with absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Okay, so take me back.
Yes.
So it's 2020.
It's 2020.
The world is in absolute chaos.
End of May, start of June 2020.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're literally a few months into complete chaotic behavior.
Complete chaos.
Were you working at the time?
Yes. So my background, similar to you, is marketing. Yeah. But B2B mostly. Okay. So I'd actually done like trade shows for B2B businesses. So when you said you would have been a
great person for me to have reached out to at the time.
Yeah, I would have, because that was like my bread and butter for the first year and a half of my marketing career. Was trade shows. Great opportunities, but you have to like literally go into it knowing exactly what you're doing, otherwise it's a colossal waste of money. Yes. Or it can be. But yes, that was my background, B2B marketing, done some like customer segmentation in like fintech for a bit, and I'd also worked as like a management consultant for a Big Four, so very wide career history. Marketing's my bread and butter. But I would say that like when I first started, I didn't actually think about like marketing the product, which is a huge mistake. Okay. So if I was like going back into it, the first thing I would do is like identify a customer and a problem, and then build a product around that. Yeah. Whereas actually I fell into it by creating a product that people just loved, right? And then was easy to talk about, and then grew it from there. That's like maybe 1 in 10 products can be made that way. Yeah. So I'd say it's like a mixture of like a little bit of luck, but a lot of hard work. If I was going to go back and do it, which, spoiler alert, I might do in the future, I'd start with a customer problem and then work from there.
So why do you think it worked for you then? If you think you went around it slightly the opposite way you'd recommend, what did you do which actually made your brand work?
So I think for me, a lot of circumstance had to be in effect for it to work. So like the product itself it's really a simple product. It's a candle that you can use more than once. Yeah. Of course, there isn't really anything in the market like that. Yeah. But it's something that's like quite cool and innovative and also sustainability focused. And right now, and also back in 2020, sustainability was like a core product type. Yeah. And more and more businesses are creating like sustainable solutions to everyday products. Like you have sustainable deodorant, sustainable toothbrushes, loads of things where like in the bathroom or in the home is a throwaway product. Loads of businesses are springing up to create the sustainable version of them. Yeah. So the environment was right, like right timing, arguably right person from my background in history to do it, and then right product. I'd say the other thing that I did that sometimes in the past I didn't do with my previous business was that I focused on the cheapest forms of getting the word out there. Okay. So like my favorite things back then and still to this day are free marketing. And I don't mean social media, which a lot of people would focus on, but I mean press and partnerships. Yes. Those 2 Ps, they're my favorite things. Yeah. Press, organic press, don't be paying for, I probably shouldn't say that, but don't be paying for press if you don't have to.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't have any affiliations with people who promote that. So okay, great. I think we're okay.
Don't be paying for press if you don't have to. Press and partnerships. So like sometimes you get like large corporates because they want to be seen as like being part of like the cool new future. Yeah. They'll get you on board to create like a product for them, or they'll do like a collab or partnership with you. Right. And those 2 ways, like a great way to reach loads of people you haven't heard about your brand, and they're free.
Yeah. I definitely want to pick your brain more on that a little bit later, because I've seen some of the press coverage that you have gotten, and it is incredible.
Oh, awesome.
So
thank you.
I'm definitely going to be asking what your secrets are. So you do this full time now.
Yes.
So at what point in your journey did you decide to leave your job to do this full time?
Maybe 4 months in.
Okay, that's
which is
quick.
Crazy. Yeah. I was lucky in the sense that I could. So I'm a big spreadsheet girly. Yeah, like I love to
too.
like.
Love it.
I love to know like what my incomings are, what my outgoings are. Like I have a mortgage to pay, so I can't just be making reckless decisions. So I did like spreadsheet out like what I anticipated my first year income to be and what my expenses were. And I managed to like secure a couple of like big contracts with Spotify and I think Lululemon at the time. Yeah, so it meant that I had enough of a basis to then be able to take that leap and go full time.
Can you tell us a bit more about those contracts with those companies? What did that
Yeah,
involve?
so a lot of my initial business was with companies who wanted to create products or send products to influencers that they worked with or their employees.
Okay.
Oftentimes they'll work with agencies to help them do that. So one of my first, like, what do you call it, inbound leads was from an agency who managed those types of relationships.
Right.
And they were like, this is our customer, this is our client. They're looking for sustainable, oftentimes Black-owned brands that they want to work with. What can you do for us with this budget?
Yeah. Okay.
And I'd be like, this, and this. Let's start.
Okay. So how on earth did you get that as an inbound lead?
Press.
So that is the press. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's
Think of
talk
it as
about
cyclical. Think of it as like a cycle of the more press you get, the more inbound leads that you get, which means the more partnerships that you get. You can then leverage that for more press, more inbound leads, more partnerships.
So, So if this is the case, that means that you had two pretty big names on board within months of starting the brand, because then at 4 months you left.
Yes.
Which means that within months of starting the brand, you already were getting good press.
Yes.
How were you doing that?
So one of the first products I created was the Conscious Candle. So a bit more about my background, history and marketing. I used to work for a tech company. I won't name them, but I worked for them for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And during Black Lives Matter becoming a huge topic, they did, I don't even want to say the bare minimum, because I think that would be like overselling it.
Wow.
Yeah. I still have great friends there. I don't want to speak ill of anyone, but I think sometimes...
But I feel like with that kind of thing, I feel like they kind of deserve it.
Yeah. I'd worked there for like 3.5 years, and I was like one of the very few Black people in the London office, which, as you know, is like the most multicultural place in the whole of of England. Yeah. And like, as Jade mentioned, we used to go to school together. Yeah. So our school was really multicultural.
Yeah. I feel like to have an office where you don't have a lot of diversity in London is a huge red flag. Yeah. Because I feel like that is a reflection of you and your hiring policies, because how did you get there?
Exactly. And I think for some companies, different forms of diversity matter more. So for them, they did a lot in terms of like women in tech. And I loved that. Like I fully supported it. But in terms of like racial equality or equity, it was pretty low. And it was even more evident because there was like one Black person in the whole entirety of the SLT, like the senior leadership team.
Really?
Yeah, which is crazy for a company like that. Yeah. But anywho, it's not about them.
Yeah.
It did help in my journey in the fact that I was so annoyed by how little was being done that I felt like I needed to do something myself. Yeah. I'm a bit of a maker. Well, I like to think of myself as a change maker. So if no one else is going to do it, I'm a stand up, I'm going to do it. So the first thing I did was create my Conscious Candle. So that's like a blend of geranium essential oils. It's supposed to help you relax and reduce your anxiety. And then initially when I created it, I didn't have a business. So I just like sold it and the profits went to Stand Up to Racism at the time. People loved it. Like people loved the candle, people loved the story, people loved the product. And then it just grew from there. Like I think it was Cosmopolitan might have been my first ever press feature.
Wow, what a flex. Is
it?
So my first feature was just Cosmo, not a big deal. Don't know if you've heard of them. But
they do magazines and like, digital stuff. Cosmo, I think they call it in the streets. But they were like my first ever feature. And off the back of that, like I was able to leverage it for like more features. Yeah. And obviously there was like sales through the digital article version of it as well. But that was really how it started. And people just kept asking me, have you got more stuff? And I was like,
that is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, no, but sure. So with Cosmo,
yes,
they came to you, or did you pitch to them?
It was a mixture of both. So I think at the time I'm about to say something and you're going to be like, oh, here she goes. But it's either Elle or Cosmo. I can't remember which one it was. I'm so sorry.
Like, it was either American Vogue or British Vogue.
It's because it was 3 years ago. But one of them was like the writer was following the brand on Instagram, and the other one was like I actually proactively found her.
Okay.
But I can talk about proactively finding journalists later because it's actually really like quite simple.
Oh, okay.
It's
Good.
so simple and like
Yeah.
they want to be found.
Yes.
Which I always find really strange, like doing my own press, because like back in the tech company, we had a whole agency do it. And like they made it seem like it was freaking
this like very exclusive
Astrophysics.
kind of and a very exclusive club where it's like if you don't have the contacts you can't get the
no
press
it's none of
features.
that it's none of that, just email them. Honestly, they want to be emailed.
Yeah, that's incredible. Okay, so you quit your job after 4 months.
Yeah.
You felt comfortable doing that because
Yeah.
you've done all the finances, you
Yeah.
were okay. What were those first few months of
Busy.
business like?
Busy,
Really?
very, very busy.
Yeah.
It was coming up to like, it's our busiest quarter. So it's like coming up to Christmas, and that's like prime time to be sending employee gifts.
Of course.
It's prime time to be getting friend and family gifts. Like
Yeah.
all the press articles are listicles about how to buy things for, what's one in October? Halloween, and
Okay.
how to buy things for Christmas. So
Right.
it's all geared towards
Lots
selling
of like the
products.
gift guides and stuff.
Yeah, so I'd actually say as well, if you're creating a product business, know when your busiest season is, and then start it just before then.
Yeah.
Because then you can like build on the momentum.
Yeah.
You don't go stagnant. You
Yeah.
build on the momentum, and then you sell in the prime selling season.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So at what point, in fact, let me start with this question.
Yeah.
Is it just you running it?
Sometimes, mostly, yes.
Wow.
And then, yeah, I know it's crazy. And you know what's so crazy? I don't know, I've got so many stories. But I did a pop-up last year in John Lewis, and part of it was like a candle making workshop. And I
Love it.
invited like content creators that I'd worked with in the past and new ones.
Yeah.
And they were, bless her. Hopefully she's watching this. Big up Nicole. Nicole was like one of our first ever customers. She was customer number 2.
Oh, wow.
She also happens to be an influencer
Okay.
called Vegan Beauty Girl.
Great.
And when she bought the candle as customer number 2, thought that we were like a legit, like large business that was black owned. I think the website had been live for like a day and a half. I kid you not. I mean, live for a day and a half.
That is, do you know what? I've got another question here, because that must mean that your branding was on point from the get-go, because it's like, I love your branding. So you have a strapline what's like, get lit responsibly.
Yes.
I love that.
Candles that help you get lit responsibly.
Love it. So have you just always been like, have you always had that quality and level of branding on your website and stuff like that from the beginning?
Fun fact, I built the website in a weekend.
Love it.
Yeah.
Using what?
So this is not sponsored. Yeah, a company that rhymes with Twix.
Okay, got it. No,
is what I know.
Okay, so you
initial
built
website
in a weekend.
Yeah, it's really
Do you still use
no.
Switch?
So no. So now I use. It's not sponsored, but I love them. I use Shopify now.
And
if you are a product business,
Yeah.
you have no business being on anything apart from Shopify.
I agree. I completely agree. Of all the product businesses, because I there was a few.
Yeah.
They were all.
I want to hear about this.
For another day.
Oh gosh. Okay.
They were all on Shopify.
Yes.
And I loved it so much
huge
that
win.
when I started this business, that obviously is not a product business.
Yeah.
I'm such a believer of like done is better than perfect. And I was
Yes.
like, I just need to get this done.
Me too.
And I was like, I
Me
don't
too.
have time to learn how to use another platform. So I just use Shopify for this. And I still managed to make it work.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then like 4 or 5 months down the line, when I was like, cool, I've quit my job, I can like actually divert my attention. I
Yeah.
switched and migrated over.
What do you use now? Do you
I use Kajabi.
Kajabi.
So it's not your traditional like website hosting platform, but
Okay.
it's good for kind of courses and memberships. So I can have my website, all of my programs, everything's on the one platform.
Oh, okay.
So it's good for like my like niche, my type of business.
Yeah.
Doesn't work well for like other types of business. It's very specific to
Kajabi.
like
I'm always
Kajabi.
interested. So
Yeah,
thank
with
you.
a K and a J. Anyway, okay, so when you said that you mostly run it by yourself, what does that mean?
So in like prime seasons, like Christmases, usually do a pop-up. There's no way I'm doing all the digital myself, making the candles, doing the pop-up, none of that. I can't be, I'm not superwoman. Like I'm Ricki, I'm not superwoman. So I usually just hire like a few sales assistants to help on that. Maybe I'll have like a sales exec as well.
Yeah.
And I like how I do it currently, because it means I can just scale up and scale down when I need to. But in the future, I would prefer to have like more people running specific parts of the business.
Yeah. So you literally do, I know you're now starting to outsource.
Yeah.
But up until now, you've done the manufacturing,
Yeah,
the
sales, the
fulfillment,
marketing,
operations.
Yeah, operations.
Wow.
Yeah, all myself. Which when you say it seems wild.
No, it is. That's
But
why
when
it
you're
seems
in,
wild.
in all
Seems
right,
wild
baby.
because it is wild.
Okay, baby. When you're in it though, like you have no other choice. Do you know what I mean?
You
Like,
just kind of keep running with it.
Yeah,
and then it becomes your
exactly.
new norm.
yeah, exactly. Like
And what I found is as I started to hire, I realized just how like the speed at which you work when you're doing it by yourself, because suddenly you realize that you can't actually ask someone else to work that quick.
Nope.
But like I've had those experiences, especially when I first started hiring freelancers, because I've just gotten to the point where I've got one full-time person now, but
wow.
previously
Congrats.
thank you. Previously it was freelancers. And I remember setting tasks and then being like, how long roughly do you think they need? They'd be like, about 2 days. And then in my head, I'd be thinking, my God, I'd get that done in half an hour.
I know.
And then I realized like they don't know how you want it done or
Yeah.
how to run the business like you do.
Yeah.
And also they do not have as much skin in this game as you do. We cannot
Exactly.
expect people to just like work
frantically. Nah.
for at the end of the day, they're working for someone else.
Yes.
So even when you get the most dedicated person who's amazing at their job,
Yeah.
they're not going home at night and
Thinking about the business.
And why should they be? They shouldn't be.
Exactly.
You know?
They've
So-
not got equity in it.
There's absolutely no, and I don't want them to go home and like wake up in the middle of the night stressing over
Yeah.
my company. It's only us who should be doing that. But it's just weird.
I don't even want to be doing that. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I don't want to be, but I don't feel like we have much of a choice in the matter.
I know what you mean though. Like I went through a period last year / year before. Oh, my years are getting mixed up. Where I had interns, and I can tell
Okay.
you, it's probably some of my best experiences and some of my worst
Really?
experiences in the business. Yeah, like tearing my hair out, like crying in the night.
no.
Worst. I know, and like it's not really their fault. It's just like it's managing my own expectations of what they can achieve.
Yes.
That's what I learned from that experience is like just manage my own expectations
Yeah.
of what they can achieve. I also learned that if I was going to start another business, I'd want a bit more money behind it so I could hire professionals.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of hiring professionals now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that makes total sense. So you're now at a stage
Yes.
where you are ready to get a manufacturer, or do you already have one? What's that
In the process
been like for you?
You know what? It's actually not that bad because I've been in the candle home fragrance industry for 3 years now, like in it as an actual producer and product maker. I already have like some contacts. I already
Right.
know who the big players are from the manufacturing standpoint of candles. Like I'd argue that in the UK, like the biggest candle companies are all manufactured by the same 3 companies.
Right. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. You wouldn't even think of it. Like everyone from like Fornesti, who's like a luxury brand,
Yeah.
down to like a mum and pop
Yeah,
would be
use the
manufactured
same-
by the same company based in
similar
Essex.
to like makeup, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always find that so interesting with makeup manufacturers. It's literally just like a couple
Yeah.
that do it for everyone. So interesting.
Exactly. And you don't know that until you're in the industry,
Yeah.
right? And my challenge is though, my product is niche. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say which the manufacturer is, but the one that's in the lead right now, they still haven't found a supplier for my seeded label.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a little bit tough.
Oh,
and I don't want to give them mine.
Yeah.
I want them to find their own, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
this is
yeah.
my USP. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that's it's a bit tough from that perspective, but yeah. Also, luckily at the start I found a very good fragrance house. I called I think like 16, 17 different companies
wow.
before I found them. Yeah, I was like hard on it.
Right.
Because your fragrance is like one of your USPs. So I
Yeah.
get mine like custom blended
Oh,
by a fragrance
nice.
house in the UK, which is rare because most other businesses go to Grass in France.
Right.
But I want like local.
Yeah.
But finding them was one of the
Difficult.
toughest bits of the business. Yeah.
So have you been using them from the very beginning?
Yeah. Or from
Okay.
like 3 months in.
Okay. And for anyone who wanted to start their own candle brand,
Yes.
what steps would they follow if they need to, like, first of all,
Yeah.
what partners do they need and how do they go about finding them?
Firstly, how serious are you? Because
good question.
People be wanting to start candle businesses and they're not serious.
Yeah.
So if you're not like, if you want to be a hobbyist, maybe you want
Yeah.
to do a couple of markets.
Yeah.
It's super simple to start a candle business.
Yeah.
You choose a wax, you only stick with that one wax. Don't be trying soy, coconut, rapeseed. Don't be doing all
Right,
that. Just choose
right.
one.
Yeah.
And then just go with like a supplier that already has tested
Sorry, there's a
essential
fly in my
oils.
face.
But it's okay.
Excuse me, guys.
go with a supplier that already has like tested fragrance oils or tested essential oils if you want to use that, and then just go with it from there. Don't be doing all of this testing lots of different things.
Yeah.
But just be aware that because you do that, you will be one of thousands of the market. So you need to be like a hobbyist person to make that work for you.
Yeah.
If you want to be serious about it, then I'd say like actually find a fragrance house. If you want to be even more serious, you could create your own wax blend, but no one's got time for that unless you're like a Joe Malone type side business.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're a large candle brand.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you don't need to be finding your own wax for that. But I would say like work with a custom blended like fragrance house just to make sure that your stuff is actually different. If I had a penny for every like lime, basil and mandarin candle I saw on the market, I'd be
rich.
Yeah. I'd probably be Jo Malone herself who created that blend.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'd say like do something that's different and makes you stand out. Otherwise you're literally one of hundreds of thousands of candle brands.
Yeah. I think that's really, really good advice and something that I speak to a lot of people about already. And I guess because everyone hears about like, what's your USP and stuff like that, people get quite bogged down with it. But I think sometimes we can assume it has to be something really extreme. Like you just said, maybe every single candle you have is like a different blend and all that kind of stuff. You don't need to go that deep. I think sometimes your USP is in your branding as well and the story around it. And I think that's what a lot of people get caught up with, especially when they're in the ideation phase of a business because they're thinking, how do I create something from scratch?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's very difficult to do.
Just change one thing.
Yes, exactly. I could not agree more.
I'd actually also argue though, this is just something I thought of now, that you probably don't even want to think about your USP. I actually, because I'm in the process right now of creating something new.
Very exciting.
And it's, I know, I'm buzzing. I don't sound it, I am. But I think you should always start with a customer problem.
Yeah.
Because you're not just selling for the sake of selling. The best selling products are best selling because they solve a problem.
Yes.
So I'd probably start with what that
audience
is.
first.
Yeah,
audience-centric approach.
Exactly.
Yeah, completely. What would you say has been your biggest challenge in your journey so far?
That's a really good question. I'd say there's a few challenges. One is obviously I'm my biggest enemy and also my biggest support because I'm a blocker. Like if you do a lot of stuff yourself, you start to block yourself in your business.
Yes.
And then another thing I'd say is money. So although I would say that like you don't need loads of money to start a candle business, working capital can kill a business. And I didn't realize just how close you could get to bankruptcy until like a year in when I had like nearly 2,000 candles to produce, but I didn't have the working capital to make them. It was very scary.
So hold on.
People really be like, oh yeah, Ricki's fine. Like she's having a good time building business.
Thriving.
I'm just here like this supply hasn't paid. They haven't paid me. I haven't paid them. Oh my gosh, go bankrupt. Like all that sort of stuff's happening in the background.
So what happened? How did you fulfill that order?
Yeah, I did. So one of the things I would say is that you can leverage your brand to get better payment terms.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good.
Yeah, so like usually when you sell wholesale or corporate, they pay you upon receipt. Sometimes they'll pay you upon shipping, but usually it's paid on receipt. And oftentimes even more, you get like 30 to 60 day payment terms. If I'd done that, my business would not exist today.
Really?
Like it just wouldn't. 2,000 candles at near RRP is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'm working class, babe. Like I don't have that money just in the bank. My parents are nurses. Like their savings aren't covering that. So I had to like negotiate better payment terms in order to be able to fulfill that order. And the one thing I would say as well is that like don't be afraid to do that. Even if it's like a large order or a large business, like they want your product, otherwise they wouldn't be there. Do you know what I mean? Like negotiate those payment terms so you can still be a business.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do. It took me a long time to get the confidence and
to do that.
Yeah. And also they also didn't pay me for quite some time so I did like a 50% deposit and then 50% on receipt. And it still took them a while to pay me on receipt. And
why was that? Was that just them being slow?
Yeah, I think there was stuff going on in their business. And also one thing, when you're working with larger businesses, the person who's paying you is not the person who's ordered.
Yeah.
It's always like an accounts department somewhere else who has no skin in the game. They're just like people who
they're fulfilling like a task. They're like completing a task.
Exactly.
And,
They have no idea what your brand is. They have no idea what size your business is. They don't know who you are as a person.
Yeah.
So getting to that person, if you can, I know it can be a bit of a struggle, but if you can get to the accounts person and then tell them your story and then get them to prioritize paying you, that's golden.
Yeah. And do you know what? I had a conversation with my auntie recently because she used to be that person who was like paying, well, she's done both sides.
Okay.
So she used to chase other businesses for payments. And then she also used to be the person who was fulfilling the payments. And I was talking to her because I currently have recently, it's not even that recent, I can't even say how long ago because I can't give it away.
Oh gosh, spill the tea,
At some point, I was working with a very big brand who should not be behaving this way.
Oh, it's always them.
Months and months ago.
Yeah.
And they had 30-day payment terms. And obviously I've just said it was months and months ago and I have not received my money yet. And I was talking to my auntie about it and she was like, you need to start finding a phone number.
Yeah.
And you have to phone them and email them every day. She was like, literally, do not let them forget now. But they're at the point where like I emailed them like I think it was about 10 days ago.
Yeah.
And they just haven't even responded to that email, which is a big bugbear. If anyone's listening to this who works in like
you
a job
know who you are.
or involves email, just acknowledge the email.
Yeah.
I have such a bugbear about it. So
it's been months. They still haven't paid you.
We're overdue by about 3 months now.
Have you got in your terms that you can start charging them interest? Because that'd be scaring them.
And I should have. And that's something that I'm going to start including, but I don't. And do you know what? I've never had a problem with people paying me on time. I've had, okay, let me take that back. I've had people pay me 1 to 2 weeks late.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's like you get to the point where the payment's due and it's not arrived. So I email them and they're like, oh God, sorry. And then they just sort it out within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem where I've been like, it's late and they're like, cool. And just like not doing anything about it.
Are they financially stable? Because sometimes that be happening.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm talking big brand.
Okay.
Like billions, worth billions, like a big brand.
And they haven't
paid. They're not even responding to my emails. So badly managed. I'm the person who I've been like working with the marketing team.
Yeah.
Bless her. She's like freaking out. So she responds to me being like, I'm trying. I think she's like, this is terrible for us.
Yeah. Reputationally.
Yeah. And also she was like,
start talking about reputational damage.
Yeah. Right. Because they know what that means. And she was talking about long-term partnerships before. And I was thinking, I'm never working with you again.
Pay me.
What is going on? So
That's
anyway.
so wild. That's probably one of the biggest challenges of being a creator, isn't it? Is getting paid.
Yes, it is. And I read this recently and I've seen nothing about it since. I read an article a couple months ago where apparently the UK government were going to introduce something which meant that suppliers had to be paid within 30 days.
Oh, so they were going to legislate it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I've not heard anything yet, which is such a shame because when I saw that, I was like, great. Because I've had like 90-day payment terms. I've had like, I worked with a brand last year who had 120-day payment terms.
What?
So
are you going to pay me ever?
Literally, I was like, cool. So I'll just stop expecting the money for a while then and just set a reminder when it's due. So I was getting paid months and months later. Yeah. So
that's wild. Okay.
I can just imagine. I mean, as a creator, it's a problem,
but
we don't have many outgoings for a lot of us.
True.
So our overheads are really low.
Yeah.
So it's a problem, but I imagine it's like a whole different situation where you've
cost of sales. When you've got cost of sales, it's just like a large percentage of your revenue.
Yeah.
You need to be paid.
Yeah. So I want to talk a bit about social media and PR now.
Okay.
Because we spoke a bit about it before, and the first thing I want to start with is specifically social media.
I hate social media. I hate it. Sorry.
Okay, great. So I know how this conversation is going to go.
I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
I just hate it. I hate everything about it.
What do you hate about it?
I don't know. I just think it's like a full-time job.
It is. Yeah, I know it is.
It really is a full-time job. And also like, I find it difficult sometimes to measure its impact and that stresses me out.
Okay.
And then also, it's just tough. Everything is like constantly evolving. There's always a new channel. There's always a new trends. Like it's just so much to keep up with.
Yeah.
And
do you know what? I'm gonna take a wild stab in the dark here and say maybe because you're doing everything yourself.
Yeah, true. True.
Because I can't imagine.
That is so true, actually. I'll take
people
that.
have teams who do social media.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, you're right.
So I would imagine if I was in your position, it would be one of the first things to go.
Yeah.
Especially because you see so much success with the PR
Yeah.
angle. But with that in mind, you have like 5,000 followers on Instagram?
But like, what does that even mean? I'm so sorry. So I have okay.
I feel like this is going to turn into therapy.
Honestly, you should have asked me about social media. I've got so many thoughts about these
let's get into
social
it. This is my niche.
houses. But I just think Instagram, I mean, they're crooks. Are they not? They literally pay, you literally have to pay them to rent an audience.
Yes.
You build a follower list that is not your own follower list. They're just rented.
Yeah.
And their like eyesight is even more rented. Like I think the last time I used to like properly post on social, I realized that they were only showing my posts to 5% of my audience.
Yes, that sounds about right. Yeah.
So out of these 5,000 people, how many people are really seeing my post?
Yeah.
And then how many of those people are even buying the product?
Yeah.
I'd rather spend my time, that same amount of time to create that post, create that carousel, create that content.
Yeah.
I could spend it pitching press.
Yeah.
I could spend it, I don't know, making the website conversion rate better.
Yeah.
I could spend it like creating blog content to get more people to the website. For me, like,
it's interesting because I think it's so...
Sorry, that's a fly.
You're just getting really angry.
Yeah, I'm just like, Instagram.
It's really interesting because when I speak to other business owners, you can always kind of tell which channel has worked from them from a marketing sense, because the way they speak about it and their energy towards it is so much more positive.
It's true.
And I think if you enjoy something, you normally see the success from it. So for me personally, press, I don't like it very much. So I love the impact.
Yeah.
Right? I love the fact that it's like earned media. Like I love it.
Yeah.
However, I'm not a big fan of writing and pitching.
You don't need to be, mate, when we get there, we'll get there.
And I will say that I've changed a bit when it comes to press. I've got a few things going out. So I'm definitely changing. But energetically, it's not something that I gravitate towards.
Fair.
Whereas social media, I do more so. And I'm also blogs. No, not for me. Hate writing. I've got a marketing coordinator now. She's beautiful.
Okay.
She's so good at it. So it's all ways around it. And I respect the channels, which is why I'm like, let me find a way to make them work.
Yeah.
But I do think the reason why some business owners see more success on certain channels is because they just genuinely enjoy the process more, because then it feels a lot less like a chore.
And also, I feel like it's almost cyclical. Like if it works for you, you'll enjoy it more. If it works for you, then enjoy it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if it stops working, then you stop enjoying it, and then it starts feeling like a chore.
Yeah. So in terms of 5,000 followers, which I was referencing before.
Yes.
Reason
for Instagram.
Why, well, the reason why I wanted to reference that is because it is quite difficult for product-based businesses, especially when they're in their infancy, to get a following. And the reason why, because most of the time your content, so not specifically your content, I love your content, but a lot of the time product-based businesses, they go on social media and they're like, cool, I'm going to start selling now.
Yeah,
and then every post
the
is
audience.
Like, because then no one goes on Instagram thinking, I can't wait for Ricki to sell me a candle today.
Wait, what?
Apart
Do they
from
not?
me, I think that when I open Instagram, but a lot of people don't.
It's true.
So sometimes it's hard. So how do you think you were able to gain that following? Do you think it was from press?
It was from press.
That's really interesting.
It was 100% from press.
Yeah.
And then some like, I wouldn't say influence marketing, but some content creators would share the product or share their story. So you'd get like a few more followers from that. But it was from press.
Okay.
And I've also realized that like a lot of product businesses who are building their Instagram followings, who you see, like some of my other small business friends, they're paying for it.
Yeah.
They're all paying for it. Like you're paying for the advertising.
Yeah.
You found the audience through your advertising that you can then turn into a following. You notice them doing that even more so when they've got like 20,000, 40,000 followers, but on every post they've got 50
the engagement
likes.
is absolutely low. Yeah.
That's why I talk about
the easiest
Instagram
way to see it.
is renting you an audience.
It's funny because you have good engagement. You
It's
do.
okay.
I run the numbers. You have 3%.
Receipts.
I'm so sad. I have a plugin on my Chrome.
Oh,
so
no way.
anyone's Instagram or TikTok I go onto, I can see.
Is it vidIQ?
Your engagement. No, it's like a separate one.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember what it's called now.
It's fine. It's not sponsored.
Yeah, it's not, right? So if you want me to announce the name, then they have to pay me. No, I'm joking. But that would be great. So everyone's TikTok, Instagram, even if I don't want to see,
it's
against my own will. So I already know. So yours is 3%, which is really good.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay.
Especially for a product-based brand, it's quite high.
And someone who posts very rarely.
And who hates it.
Yeah.
It's pretty high. So talk to me about press then. We already spoke a bit about the fact that you mentioned Cosmo and Elle. I've also written down Grazia.
Big up Grazia. I love the
Grazia. Is it Cosmo Southern that we say Grazia?
Maybe. Yeah, Grazia.
Okay, I don't know.
I really love the Grazia team, by the way. If you're listening, big you up. Yeah. I do.
I mean, if you're listening and you want to come on the podcast, I am available. My contact information is below.
They're great.
And Glamour.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So.
And The Independent, Indie Best List, The Telegraph.
Oh my God, we don't have all day.
And Country and Townhouse. They get me a lot of sales actually. So big up Country and Townhouse. Yeah.
I can imagine that actually. I feel like that. Yeah. Okay. So you're you're everywhere. You're visible.
Yes.
So, and you mentioned that you don't necessarily pitch.
So I did at the start.
Okay.
But press is more about relationships, less about transactions. I think sometimes when you go into press, like you get into the mindset of I need to get into this press feature. And then once you've done that, that's it. But actually I like to like build relationships. Like I'll follow them on Instagram. I'll like all their posts.
Yeah.
If I see something that they've written, I'll be like, ha, ha, ha. Because it's funny. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's all about relationship building. My latest Grazia feature wasn't me pitching. They came back to me off of like, off of engagement. Yeah. So I think for me, it's really relationship led. That said, to get to where I am now, I've sent hundreds of pitches.
Really?
Yeah, hundreds. Easily.
And if someone was starting out and they were like, okay, I think I want to
let me put you on.
Yes. How do they go down the press route? How?
It is so simple.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually scarily simple.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
So the first thing I would recommend is signing up. This is not sponsored at all. So this is when you know it's like legit. The first thing I would recommend if you're a product-based business is sign up to something called PR Dispatch.
Okay.
So they are I'd say they're a software company now, but they started as an agency, but now they're a software company. And they give you journo requests. So they scrape like Twitter or the internet for any time a journalist says #journo request, I need this thing. They'll also have like a whole database of press journalists that they've pitched you before, that have featured small businesses before, and they'll regularly tell you who to pitch to, what their name is, what their interests are, and what their email address is as well.
Yeah.
They also give you like templates that you can literally copy and paste and tweak. And then they give you like follow-up templates as well. It's a community.
Yeah.
So I joined them through their like Black Founders program in 2020. They gave me a free membership, I think for like 3 or 6 months.
Okay.
It changed my life.
Wow.
It's probably the only subscription apart from Klaviyo and Shopify that I would actually recommend every product business get.
Wow.
Which is serious.
What a plug.
I know. Big up Rosie and her team.
Gosh, they need to be
but they're
paying
so
you.
good. No, honestly, they're really, really good. And obviously like I did that subscription. I also do their Christmas subscription as well, which is like golden. I think they only have like 400 or 500 places.
Yeah.
And it's worth every penny.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so you can do that. You can get your basics ready and then you can just keep using that skill set that you've developed through them to keep pitching. And when I tell you, like press can literally be like 30 minutes a week.
Wow.
That's all you
and
need.
has such a big impact.
A huge impact.
Oh
and oftentimes if it's so obviously there's like long lead press, short lead press, and then online press.
Yeah.
For online press, you can literally see the impact in your sales. Like when you're on Shopify, it shows you where your traffic and sales is coming from. So you know, like so when I started, I was pitching to everyone. Now I pitch to smaller numbers of publications because I know they'll get me sales.
Right.
Like I'm not just pitching for brand awareness anymore.
Yeah.
I'm pitching for my bottom line.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like you have many a spreadsheet and you are big on like tracking and that kind of thing. If someone's just starting out and they're like, nope, not for me, hate spreadsheets. What do you think? I know. Ridiculous. But what do you think are like the main tools or maybe spreadsheets that you need to have when you're starting off in a product-based business?
For a product-based business, firstly, you need to understand your numbers. So cost of sales, how much each product takes to make, and then how much money you get back from that is crucial. Then I would say, I mean, I'm big on press, so I'd probably have a press press spreadsheets.
Yeah.
For who you're pitching, when you're pitching them,
Yeah.
what you're pitching them, and then your regular check-ins. What other spreadsheets do I use? I also have like a monthly tracker. So like I have like my budget and then tracking against actuals.
Nice. I've got that too, yeah.
Which I think is really important. And then maybe if you're into marketing, you might want to do like a content calendar and all that sort of stuff. But you can do all of this. If you don't like actual spreadsheets, you can do all of this stuff on Asana.
Yeah, I love Asana.
Do you?
Also not sponsored. They actually don't sponsor anyone.
Do they not?
No, I've done so much research into it because I'm like, I keep on plugging Asana and no one's paying me for it. Like, what's going on?
That's why.
Yeah.
Plugging them for
We're going
free.
against my number one rule. No, but you know, you're like, come on. And they just don't have, they don't
It's probably because the product is so good that people
they don't
will
need
talk about.
it.
Yeah.
So frustrating. Asana, if you're listening, I promise you I can get you some sales. That's so funny. Okay, so I want to wrap up by talking specifically about creators. And I know you are a unique type of creator in the sense that you are a product-based business owner, but still a creator.
Yes.
So, and I know you also mentioned that you've worked with creators and influencers in the past. So not necessarily like a whole campaign, but they've gone ahead and they've promoted some of your products for you.
Yeah.
So there are probably a lot of creators listening to this.
Hello.
If they wanted to get the attention of you or someone like you to work with them, because this is the number one thing that people ask me, how would you recommend they do that?
That's a really good question. So I'd say I'm uniquely placed in the fact that I run a product-led business, which uses like content, but also in the past, like I've created for other brands outside of just my business.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I know, but people don't really be known about that, but I
don't.
All my revenue streams.
Yeah, she's on it.
So I've got a few lessons from that as well, but I'd say it's difficult because I don't have like a huge budget for content creation. And if you're an actual creator and it's like your business, you probably don't want to be targeting like my brand.
Right.
If you're just getting started or you're a hobbyist, then sure, like, and you're happy to do like what's it called, where you have like a product and then you have like a piece
gifted.
Yes, that's it. My words. If you do like gifted, like small bands are like better for that. But if you want like paid gigs, I'm not as
So what if they
familiar
did
in that.
want to do gifted? Because I work with a lot of creators who are in their early stages.
Okay.
And I always say like, if you find a brand who you love and you're just starting out, like
Reach
gifted
out.
is a great way to get started, get some practice whilst also supporting a brand that you love.
Yeah.
But even then they'll be like, well, how do I obviously
How do you find
teach
them?
people how to pitch and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what would they need to say to you in a pitch through your Instagram DMs that would make you think,
don't DM me. Because I told you I hate social media.
Yeah, true. So do you not even check, you're not on your DMs?
I think the last DM I replied to is from like 2.5 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm so bad. I am. I'm
DMs
sorry.
are quite stressful. I literally spend an hour a day in my DMs, and I have someone who also works in my DMs, and I still spend an hour a day. Yeah. It's,
that's
it's
scary.
It's a whole job. So I
would say email for one. And also, so I actually get a lot of UGC and early stage content creators reaching out.
Oh, great.
And I'd say like the ones that are more likely to get a reply from me have emailed.
Okay.
The ones who are even more likely to get a reply from me know my name.
Great. Oh my God, that is such a key one. When I used to have my own like boutiques and stuff, the DMs I used to get were they were like one sentence. Sometimes they would just say collab ?
Oh,
No, hello, no, my name, not even the brand name. Just literally collab, not even collaboration. Ricki, it was collab ?
5 letters only.
I couldn't believe it. So anyway,
Serious.
continue.
No collab ? please.
Yeah, no.
Also, like, what does that even mean? Like, I'm not going to be doing that job for you. Like, you need to tell me what you want from this and what you think I can gain from it.
Yes.
Say my name. If you found my actual email address and not just info at, even better. If you have examples of your work and you've got them in the email, so I don't have to be searching up your Instagram or TikTok for them, even better.
Yeah.
And if you understand like what the product is and you've talked about it in the email, that's it.
Great. Okay, perfect. So that's such good advice. Like people will listen to that and be like, oh my God,
I can change.
I've not been doing any of that.
Yeah. And also surprisingly, I get a lot of, this is like a random one, but I get a lot of emails from people based in Canada and the US,
Okay.
which I don't ship to.
Right. that's quite frustrating then for you, I suppose, because then they've not looked into that.
Yeah, and it means like you actually can't work with me because your audience aren't going to be able to physically buy the product.
Yeah.
And it would save you time if you did that research. You wouldn't have to pitch to me. You could just pitch to another local brand.
Yeah. I always think, and I always say, you know, you're asking, even if you're working with someone or you're pitching to a brand to get a gifted partnership, that brand is still spending money because they're shipping you the product and it costs them money to produce the product.
Yes.
So you are requesting something of monetary value from a brand. You've got to spend more than a few seconds trying to get that thing. It's not fair to send collab ? And expect a brand to do all of that for you.
And to tell you what the collab
is. It has to work
is.
both ways.
Exactly.
It has to be an equal partnership. That's the only reason and the only way it's going to work. So I think that was really, really good advice. I have loved catching up with you.
Me too.
I'm so impressed by what you've done. Are you able to give us a little bit of a clue as to what's next for you?
Oh, I would say it's what I've always wanted to do.
Okay, wow, elusive.
Well,
We're all on. I'm literally gripping the edge of my seats to see what this is. Do you know when roughly we'll know?
TBC.
All right, okay, guys, watch this space. We'll find out soon. Okay, well, it's been so lovely having you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, sharing all those gems. People are going to find this really, really useful. And congrats again on your success. I will leave a link to your business, maybe even your second business, depending on when it's gone out. I don't know, in the show notes in case anyone wants to check it out. Your candles are amazing. And yeah, thanks again for joining me.
Thank you for having me.